There's a moment in every struggling marriage where she hasn't left yet. She hasn't fully shut down. She's doing something most men completely miss. She's making one last structured attempt to see if you're going to step up. And if you miss this window, it doesn't come back the same way. My name is Noah Allen, and today I'm going to show you what the bargaining phase actually looks like, why most men fail it without even knowing it happened, and exactly what she needs to see from you before she makes her final decision. If your wife has been going back and forth, one day warm, next day cold, saying things like, I don't know what I want anymore, or I love you, but I'm not in love with you, pay close attention. Because that's not confusion. That's the bargaining phase. And it's the most critical window you'll ever face in your marriage. So let's get into it. So before we talk about bargaining, you need to understand something that most men never learn. When a woman starts emotionally pulling away, she's not just being difficult. She's grieving. She's grieving the marriage she thought she had. She's grieving the man she believed you'd become. She's grieving the future she once pictured when she said, I do. And this didn't happen overnight. This has been building for months, maybe years, while you were focusing on work, on providing, on winning outside the home. You were leading boardrooms, closing deals, and while you were doing that, something inside the home was quietly fading and falling apart. Now, there are 5 stages people move through when they face loss. I'm not going to make this clinical. I'm going to make this practical. So stage 1 is denial. Things aren't that bad. We'll figure it out. Stage 2, anger. I'm done being the only one who tries. Stage 3 is bargaining. Maybe if I give him one more chance. Stage 4 is depression. I don't even care anymore. Stage 5 is acceptance. I made my decision. I'm done. Now, here's where most men get this wrong. They think these stages are straight from one to the next. It's not. She can bounce between anger and bargaining 3 times in a single week. She might be warm on Tuesday and completely shut down by Friday. She might cook dinner with you one night and not look at you in the eye the next morning. And you're standing there thinking, what did I do wrong? Nothing new. She's just cycling. She's processing the grief of what you've built, or rather, what's been slowly crumbling. Think of it like a storm at sea. A storm doesn't just come and go once, it builds and retreats. The sky's clear for an hour and you think it's over. Then the winds pick back up, harder than before. That's what's happening inside of her. But the man who stays at the wheel, who doesn't abandon the helm, when things get rough, that's the man she starts watching. That's the man she starts believing in again. So the question isn't, which stage is she in? The question is, what is your response? Telling her about who you become. Now, let's talk about what bargaining actually is, because it's not what you think. Bargaining is not her being wishy-washy. It's not her playing games, and it's not her stringing you along. Bargaining is her last structured attempt to avoid the loss she's already feeling coming. Let me say that again. She already feels the loss. She's not deciding whether to feel it. She's deciding whether to accept it. And right now, she's still hoping she doesn't have to. The emotional intensity here is not confusion. It's hope under pressure. That's why she says things like, maybe we should try one more time. I just need to see something different. If things don't change by this summer, I'm done. That's bargaining. It sounds like an ultimatum, but underneath it is hope. She's not threatening you. She's testing whether you're the man who finally shows up. She's running what amounts to finally audit, checking whether the man that she married is still in there somewhere. And most men, they fail to audit. Not because they don't care, but because they respond with words when she measures them by their actions. Think about it this way. Imagine you had a business partner who kept missing deadlines, who kept dropping the ball on deliverables, kept saying, I'll do better next time. Quarter after quarter, same story, same apology, same promise. At some point, you'd start quietly building your exit plan. You'd talk to a lawyer, looking at the partnership agreement, not because you hate your partner, but because you've stopped believing in the partnership. But before you pull the trigger, you'd probably say one more time, look, this next quarter matters. I need to see results, not promises, results. That's not a negotiation. That's a final audit. And your wife, she's conducting the same audit right now. She's watching your actions, not listening to your words. She's looking for one thing. word backed by action, because words without follow through have quietly destroyed her trust over months, maybe years. She's tired, not tired of you, tired of hoping you'll change and watching you stay the same. Now look, if this is landing for you, if you're sitting there saying, that sounds exactly like what she said last week, I want you to know, you don't have to figure this out alone. I help high-achieving husbands rebuild trust, reignite connection, and save their marriage using the Heroic Husband Method. It's built on something called the Emotional Layering Protocol, a step-by-step behavioral leadership system designed for men who don't need more advice, men who need precision, men who need a plan. There's a link in the description. Book a call with my team. We'll walk you through exactly where you are in this process and what your next move should be. Also, I wrote a book on this called The Heroic Husband, right? We are coming out on Amazon extremely soon. But if you want to go get a digital version of that copy, that link is in the description as well. All right, let's keep going. Here's where men blow it almost every single time. When she's in the bargaining phase, most men respond with reassurance. I love you. I'll change. I promise. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'm not the same guy I was 6 months ago. And here's the thing. Those words might be true, but she's heard them before, maybe dozens of times. So now your words have no currency. Your word is a currency of the masculine. And right now, you might be bankrupt. Not because you're a bad man, but because you've made too many withdrawals without enough deposits. Every broken promise is a withdrawal. Every I'll work on it that went nowhere, withdrawal. Every time you said things will be different and fell back into the same pattern, withdrawal. And she's been keeping the books silently, carefully. It's not even conscientiously. It's all subconscious within her nervous system, even when she didn't say a word about it. So what does she actually need from you right now in this phase? She doesn't need a speech. She doesn't need a grand gesture. She doesn't need flowers, a vacation, or a love letter. She needs to see alignment. She needs your words and your walk to finally match. I worked with 2 men in the near identical situation. Both had wives in the bargaining phase. Both had been told, I need to see something different. The first guy went in overdrive, planned a surprise trip to Cancun, bought her a necklace, wrote 5-page love letter about how much that he loves her and is deep, intense, and passionate, and texted her 3 times a day with compliments and heart emojis. Sounds good, right? His wife pulled further away. Why? Well, because she didn't ask for more words. She didn't ask for performance. She asked for different behavior. And what she got was the same desperation in a nicer package. It actually made things worse because now she's thinking, he still doesn't get it. He thinks a trip is going to fix what took years to break. The second man did something completely different. He got quiet. Not cold, quiet. Not withdrawn, grounded. He started getting up earlier. He stopped reacting when she brought up the same argument. He started following through on the small things he'd been dropping for years. Picked up the kids when he said he would. Handled the bills he'd been pulling off. Staying calm when she tested his limits. Didn't chase her after fights. Didn't beg for a conversation when she wasn't ready. He didn't announce any of it. He just did it day after day, week after week. 6 weeks later, she texted him saying something that she hadn't said in years. I don't know what's different, but I can feel it. That's the power of word backed by action. That's what she's looking for in the bargaining phase. Not your best pitch, your best behavior. Consistent, grounded, undeniable. Now, let's talk about why this window is so fragile. Because the bargaining phase doesn't last forever. And here's the part that scares most men once they understand it. Every time she reaches out, every time she gives you an opening, she's spending emotional energy. She doesn't have much more. About that. It takes courage for her to open that door again. It takes something from her every time she decides to try. And if you meet that opening with the same old pattern, promises, apology, and panic, you're not rebuilding trust. You're confirming the story she's already telling herself. See, nothing changed. And that's the moment bargaining starts tipping into desperation. That's when warmth goes cold. That's when conversations stop. That's when she stops fighting with you. And that silence is louder than anything she's ever said. Because when she stops fighting, she's not at peace. She's accepted loss. And when she reaches acceptance, she's not angry anymore. She's not sad anymore. She's just done. And that's the hardest place to come back from. So if she's still fighting with you, still bringing things up, still pushing back, that's actually a sign of life. It means that she hasn't given up yet. It means the door is still slightly cracked open. Your job is to walk through it differently this time. Think of trust like an emotional bank account. Every broken promise is an overdraft. Every odd change that never showed up in your behavior, that's a bounce check. And right now, that account might be deep in the red. You can't make one big deposit and expect the account to recover overnight. You don't fix years of overdraft with one grounded gesture. Trust rebuilds through micro moments. How you respond when she says something that stings. How you show up when nobody's watching. How you stay calm when the old you would have snapped or shut down or stormed out of the room. Every single one of those moments is a small deposit. And over time, those deposits stack. She starts noticing, not because you told her to notice, because the evidence becomes undeniable. That's what masculine emotional leadership looks like. It's not a performance. It's not convincing. It's becoming the kind of man that she can feel safe with again. Let me reframe how you should look at this entire phase. Most men see the bargaining phase as a problem to solve. She's upset, fix it. She's pulling away, chase her. She's giving ultimatums, negotiate. That's the wrong frame entirely. The bargaining phase is not a problem to solve. It's a leadership test. She's not asking you to fix her feelings. She's asking you to fix your foundation. She needs to see that you can stay grounded when things are uncertain, that you can hold the weight of her pain without crumbling under it, that you can show up with the same energy whether she's warm towards you or cold as ice, because that's what emotional safety is. It's not about making everything okay. It's about showing her through your behavior, not your words, that you can be trusted no matter what happens next. When she feels that kind of safety, not just physical, but emotional and psychological, that's when the walls start coming down. That's when the bargaining turns into something else entirely. Hope, real hope, not the desperate kind, the kind that backed by what she sees every day. Think of a compass. When the needle is spinning, no one trusts it. It's moving, sure, but it's not pointing anywhere useful. That's what reactive behavior looks like. Panic, chasing, over-apologizing, promising the moon, doing everything at once with no direction. But when the needle finds north, when it locks in and holds steady, everyone around can feel it, even if you never say a word. That's what happens when a man gets aligned. When his words, his actions, his energy, his presence all point to the same direction. She doesn't need you to explain it. She doesn't need you to narrate the journey. She can feel it. That feeling, that's what rebuilds everything. Inside the heroic husband, we have specific processes for getting that needle locked in. It's not random. It's not trial and error. It's a sequence. First, you address the bleeding points, the deeper wounds underneath the surface symptoms. Then you shift the pattern, the beliefs, the reactions, the habits that keep the old cycle alive. Then you bond through planned conversations, polarity, and emotional connection that creates lasting desire. That's the emotional layering protocol, healing, shifting, and bonding. And the bargaining phase, that's the doorway to stage one. If you walk through the right way, you don't just save the marriage, you transform it into something neither of you thought was possible. So let me bring this home. If your wife is in the bargaining phase, if she's going back and forth, hot and cold, giving you chances and pulling them away, understand this. She hasn't quit yet. She's still looking for a reason to stay. But that window is not permanent. Today we covered 3 critical truths. 1, bargaining is her last structured attempt to avoid loss. She's not confused, she's evaluating. 2, she's not asking for reassurance, she's watching for commitment. Words without follow-through have lost their power. She needs to see words backed by action. 3, every response you give either rebuilds trust or confirms the story that she'd been telling herself for months. This is where your leadership is on trial. This is the window where masculine leadership matters more than it ever has. And if you're watching this thinking, I can't afford to get this wrong, you're right, you can't. So here's what I want you to do. In the description, there's a link to book a clarity call with my team. We'll walk you through the heroic husband method, the emotional layering protocol, the 3-stage system that's helped hundreds of high-achieving men turn this exact situation around, even when she's emotionally shut down, even when she says that she's done, even when nothing else has worked. Because this isn't about convincing her to stay, it's about becoming the man she doesn't want to leave. If you've got value from this, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, drop a comment below. Have you seen that bargaining phase play out in your marriage? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.